How's everybody been? Yeah, I appreciate everybody being here. So excited to get kicked off here tomorrow morning, get an opportunity to go out on the field and start really the next phase of preparing for the 2019 season. Really proud of our team and what they've done since we got back from Christmas and bowl break, I guess, and started our second semester. They've had a great off season. I talked about that as we got into spring ball and finished it. I thought they handled January, February strength and conditioning and spring ball extremely well, competed extremely hard, made a lot of gains, but really proud of what our kids have done throughout the summer. Just having an opportunity to see them throughout the course, their bodies change physically, the way they're preparing themselves to go out and become the best football player that they can. And ultimately, that's what the next 3.5 weeks are really about. Leading up to game week is preparing us. We're in a race against ourselves to be as good as we possibly can, as fast as we can. You got to look at it as a unit, as a team. But ultimately, it's up to each one of our individual players to push themselves to go achieve those things. Proud of the freshman class that kind of joined us in late June. Have some young guys that we're going to find out what they're capable of as we start training camp here. Really, the first 2 weeks, everybody will get fairly equal reps as we look forward to great competition out there on the field. So with that, I'll open it up to some questions.
Coach, how was the summer in the weight room? I'm sure you get reports on how the guys are doing in year 2 under your program.
Yeah, rules have changed where you're actually able to be around them a little bit more and get a chance to really see how they're able to develop. And first of all, we've had dramatic changes in our weight room. The Galts and Cones have stepped up and dramatically changed, what our players are able to use as far as equipment inside of that, the way it aesthetically looks, the way it functions every day. It's a really good resource for our players to maximize everything that they want to do inside of the strength and conditioning area. I think our strength and conditioning staff is absolutely fantastic. Coach Schmidt, his staff do a great job of developing our guys position specific. And so when you watch those guys work out, our bigs, O-line, D-line, line of scrimmage guys run completely different than our skill guys, and our big skills, what we call them, tight ends, linebackers, are going to train differently as well. And I think everything that they do, our players understand the why behind it and how it correlates to them being a better football player. When players understand the why, they're going to buy in, and they're going to push themselves to obtain the best that they can, the standard. So,
sort of building up that trust, can you sort of compare where things are for you? You're a couple of programs to where they were.
Seasoned vet now. I was a rookie last year, now I'm a seasoned vet. I think just our entire program. And we were in a great place last year. I think great buy-in and communication between players and coaches, and developed trust as we went along the way. Everything was brand new for our players, though. It was the first time that they had gone into spring ball, the first time summer workouts, the first time they had gone into training camp. And so there's always some uncertainty in those things, and I think there's nothing like going through the test of time together, going through trials, tribulations, peaks, valleys, ups and downs, the battles that we went through during the course of last season to ultimately bring your football team a lot closer. And we did that as we went through the season. And coming back after the bowl game, as good of a place as we were, during the course of last season, I felt like there was a heightened sense of urgency, a heightened sense of trust between players and coaches, accountability inside of our locker room, an understanding of who and what they truly want to be, and how we're going to get there. And I think that only takes place, as you go through the course of time. And when players truly understand what the expectations are, they're typically going to meet the standard every day. And if you do that, you're giving yourself a chance every day to become what you're capable of.
Josh, do you get the sense that the players want to use how that season ended last year, that bowl game, they want to use that maybe a little bit of motivation going into
You go 2 seasons of not losing a football game. Not that our team ever took it for granted or anything like that. I felt they prepared in a great way. I think the course of that 60 minutes, showcases how each and every play matters, whether it's the first one or the last one, and doing your job the absolute best that you can and paying really close attention to every little detail, in your scheme and your technique, how those things add up to being successful and finding a way to go win a football game. We got great belief in who and what we are as a program. Our players are extremely confident. Since I've been here, I think our players have and probably always will have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and I don't think that's a bad thing for our program.
How much do you pay attention to during the off-season conditioning, your quarterback's leadership skills during those?
We spend time and energy not just at the quarterback position, but with everybody inside of our program of one, what is leadership, and then two, when you are a guy that's a great teammate and making sure that you're doing things right and holding the teammate accountable next to you, how do you phase into a true leadership role, and what does that look like inside of your meeting room? What does it look like inside of your unit? What does it look like when you're a full team? And what does it look like at workouts, at practice? Those are all things that, get older in age, you've experienced those things, you kind of take for granted. The great thing about college football is a quarter of your roster turns over every single year. It's the hard thing about college football too, but it's a great thing. And so starting in January, those leadership roles, players walk into those position rooms, and all of a sudden there's a guy or two that had graduated and moved on, and he kind of was the leader inside of that room. It takes them a couple weeks to kind of figure out, one, it's going to be me. Two, how do I find my voice in that? And so those are things that our coaches spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time trying to help those guys find out what it is and put them in positions where they have to speak up. They have to make sure that we're accomplishing our mission.
How does depth change year to year?
Depth?
Yeah, depth. How does it change year to year?
From year one to year two, I think we're developing a lot more depth inside of our program. I think in particular, you guys look at the recruiting classes the last couple of years, right? The line of scrimmage is the number and the types of guys that we've added. I think will allow us to continue to develop a lot of depth. And I think, I said it earlier just a minute ago, but when you look at what we have signed, bulk numbers of in the previous recruiting classes, obviously the line of scrimmage has been a point of emphasis for us. We got great skill players and are going to continue to do that. I like what we've done at the line of scrimmage here the last couple of years. Ultimately, we're going to find out where those guys are at when we get out in training camp here tomorrow and as we go through it, the process of building our team. But I think great competition, right, is the absolute best friend that a coach has, right? It's going to drive everybody inside of that meeting room to ultimately compete with themselves and the guy next to them in a positive way, but compete in a great way every single day.
Josh, how would you like to see that competition play out over the next season?
Well, I want to see a guy fully take the reins of it and prove that he is the guy. Want it to be fierce and competitive too. I want the guy that isn't the guy to be playing at championship level too. And I think it's important that that position, like every other position on your football team, but that position in particular, because they have the ball in their hands, right? They in some ways control the destiny of your football team. That they prove to the guys next to them and on the other side of the line of scrimmage that they are the guy. And I think that's important that they take that ownership and the guys feel that way about them. To do that, somebody's got to go out, earn it, and really take the job. The great thing about spring ball is typically in a quarterback battle, somebody's going to play poorly enough that they prove that they're not the guy. That hasn't been the case with the 15 practices in spring ball. I feel like all of them are going to be dramatically better than where they were when they left after the spring game. They've spent a ton of time inside of the building. I think they've poured a lot of energy into understanding our schemes, growing and understanding defenses, pressures, and ultimately being a smarter football player. So we're going to find that out and go through that process starting tomorrow.
Just to clarify, you're looking for one starter, not a situation where you can.
At the end of the day, we're going to play the guys that are ready to play. But I certainly hope that someone goes out and proves that he's the guy.
Is there an ideal timeline for that? Would you like to have one named by the end of the
I don't have a specific timeline, just because every quarterback battle I've ever been in, whether that's as a player or as a coach, has kind of unfolded differently. And I think you got to go through the process. And when a guy truly earns, proves that he's the guy, then you name him and you go in that direction.
Aside from quarterback, what's maybe your most pressing question that
that you want to see going into the next few years?
There's competition. You need to continue to develop depth at every position, right? Guys got to earn starting positions. I think just with the graduation on the defensive line, I think the two interior spots in particular are critical to finding out who and what we're going to be on that side of the ball. Have a couple transfers, grad transfer, junior college transfer that have been here since the middle of May. I think they're going to add great competition immediately. Have some young guys that have been in our program, some through spring ball, some that just arrived, that I think athletically are pretty special. How quickly can they understand how hard you have to compete, and understanding our schemes too, just from snap to whistle. We're going to find that out.
What is Mackenzie's role, and how involved will he be? What will he be doing all year with you guys?
This summer he's been with those guys, kind of taking the year as a quote unquote coach type of year, and he's a great sounding board for all of our quarterbacks. The way we practice with some of the tempo that you see on game day gives him an ability, because you're not coaching a bunch in between each play. After a series, he'll pull those guys to the sideline and kind of rewind things and ask them their perspective, but also give his insights as well. And I think that's been great inside of the meeting room as well.
Coach, Danny White has taken some criticism on his scheduling, only 1-for-1s. That's his philosophy. How much input do you have on scheduling, and what are your thoughts as a coach of UCF? Do you like the 1-for-1s, or would you like? At
the end of the day, I got great trust and belief in Danny as our leader. Right, he's grown a phenomenal brand here in the short amount of time that he's been here. We're willing to go play anyone, and our players are extremely confident. We're confident as a coaching staff. I think every university is a little bit different, right? The track record of what we've proven here, not just over the last couple of years, but long term, the last decade too, I think is important to understand. But certainly over the last couple of years, I think the other thing too is that thing's sold out every week, right? And that may be different than some of the other places that are playing some of those 2-for-1s too. And I think that's important to note as well.
I haven't heard you say it yet, Coach, but are you going to stick with going 1-0 this year, or can you do a different mantra, or how do you?
We talk about going 1-0 inside of our program every day, and it's true to me. I think it's true to our players. At this time last year, you guys weren't hearing a lot of 1-0 speak to, but that absolutely is a part of who and what we are. Controlling what we can control, that's today, and how we prepare and go through it.
With Dredger moving on, do you see somebody who is maybe replacing out the slot, or are you going to kind of rotate guys?
We'll have great competition this spring, but some guys that have been here and played really good football. Marlon Williams did a great job. He's a guy that through the course of the summer has changed his body, and I think ability to play consistently at an elite level because of what he's done. Jacob Harris is a guy that's played multiple positions. I think he's going to compete at that position as well. And then we got some young guys that will get a shot as well.
Kicking competition.
I should mention, and I say Otis, right? I mean, Otis Anderson played there last year, played running back. His ability to play both positions.
And your kicking competition is kind of wide open.
Yeah, that's a position that you graduate 3 guys that we're pretty special, right? And for us to be what we need to be, we need to win special teams that third of the game every single week. We got some young guys that are on campus that got to take ownership of the role. Alex Ward's done a phenomenal job snapping the football for us. I believe he's going to be really, really solid and ultimately be a great player for us there at that position. I think the kicking competition for field goals and kickoff is something that we're going to see as we go through training camp. I think it's got a chance to be a really fierce competition.
Josh, you talked about some of those transfers. You get a guy like Tony Gray comes in for Ole Miss, and Brandon Wilson from Indiana. How does that help you when you're seeing those guys?
Well, Brandon in particular, just because of the youth on that side of the line of scrimmage, right, and his ability to be eligible immediately for sure. Mature, highly competitive, has played on big stages, understands the way you need to operate. To me, just having seen him in the weight room, I think because of the graduation a year ago and the youth that we have in that room, that experience, that maturity will be critical to the development of that position inside. Tony Gray, all those guys that have transferred in have done a great job of blending into who and what we are, right? They show up day one. They don't understand the expectations, the standards inside of our building. They don't know anybody's name. They got to learn 124 other guys' names too, right? They've grown throughout the course of the summer and really integrating themselves as part of the fabric and the DNA of our program.
What impact does hearing UCF name constantly, on the national landscape throughout the off season, have on this program with you guys?
Our brand, our logo, recognized coast to coast, right? Constantly front and center in media. It changes the landscape of recruiting, right? And our ability to have, great players, right? Allows us to maybe be a little bit more meticulous and picky maybe in the recruiting process. But at the end of the day, again, the major part of what we do is, Florida and South Georgia, and I include Atlanta in that area. And those guys all have great respect for what we're doing, not just recruits, but the high school coaches as well.
Adrian, he was one of the first recruits for that 2016 class. What's the impact and what's the end?
I'm sorry, I missed the name there.
Adrian.
You're talking about AK? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just what he's meant to the program?
Yeah, as you've seen him.
I mean, he's an all-conference player, right? I mean, one of the most dynamic players in all of college football. If you're able to get him in open space, whether in the run game or the pass game, he's going to provide game-changing, explosive plays. I really like just, you take over a program right in year one, and you're trying to develop trust, and, with offensive guys and defensive guys too, what type of scheme are you going to run? How are you going to put them in a position that they're most comfortable, right? And so I thought we got better at that as the season unfolded, both sides of the line of scrimmage, also special teams. That's a guy that, just in coming back in January, has been really focused. And I think sometimes you just get to your senior year, you understand the urgency of how fast this is going to end and what your goals and aspirations are while you're here, but also long term as well. He's had a great offseason. Sorry, what's that? On DJ? No, we still don't know when he'll be back exactly.
You mentioned at conference media days about Randy Charlton being a leader on the defensive line. Can you kind of expound upon that? How he gets to have a sophomore who's a leader, and how does he lead?
Yeah, well, I think it's unique that he's got maybe as much experience, right, as anybody on the front four besides B. Hayes. And I think those two guys, right, if you talk about leadership at the defensive line group, those are the two guys that immediately come up as the cornerstones in that room. And I think that unit, I said it at media days, maybe grew and changed as much as any position throughout the course of summers. Physically, when you see them, you come out on the practice field, they look different. They're moving different than they were. I think those two guys really grabbing the reins of that group. Took them to a different place this summer, but also will ultimately determine who and what we're going to be up front on that side of the line of scrimmage, during the course of the season as well.
Coach, Dylan.
You got veteran talent in the running back position, a lot of it. You've got some veteran talent on the offensive line and as a receiving floor. Do you think that'll help take some pressure off whoever your quarterback is, considering he's going to be the new guy in your offense?
Yeah, we need those veterans to play at an elite championship level. They're certainly capable of it, but they got to prove it every day still. Absolutely. If you're able to run the football, that changes the numbers in the pass game, changes the third downs that you play in. You're able to throw it on your terms instead of being forced to throw the football. Changes the way people are rushing the pocket. All those things lend itself to taking some of the pressure off that quarterback and giving him a chance to play his best football and not have as much pressure on him. At the end of the day, though, when you're playing that position, you're the one guy that's touching the football besides center, right? That's touching the football every single play. You're making a bunch of decisions. We're going to need a quarterback playing at a championship level. I believe we're going to have that when we kick off.
Okay, can we get started with the players? Josh, should be able to stick around for a minute or two.
Okay, appreciate it, guys. Enjoy the day.